Today what we're going to do is we're going to do more with positive and negative exponents. We're taking a turn and doing more negative exponents today, right? You'll also notice that we're going to add another rule to our already existing list. So the first thing that we're going to do is make sure we have positive exponents, right? And then we're going to distribute or multiply your exponents. We're going to reorder things. We're going to add exponents. We're going to subtract exponents, and then we're going to simplify. So you're still going to use the list that you used before, but before we distribute or multiply our exponents, we're going to make sure our exponents are positive, right? So that's what we're looking at today. So define and use zero and negative exponents is the title of this chapter, right? We're going to take a minute, and we're going to go over this activity, and then when we're done with that, we'll continue with our notes. All right, now that we're done with this activity, and any of you can go to ClassZone.com and you can work on that. So either click on it or you just go into ClassZone itself. Let's take a look at a couple of examples, all right? We've seen something like this before. So if I take 3 to the third over 3 to the second, are there more 3's in the numerator or in the denominator? There's more 3's in the numerator, and how many of them? 1 extra. So this is going to be equal to, and you can go 3 to the 1, or even better yet, it's just 3, right? And notice there's nothing down below. I don't need anything in the denominator because it would be 1, and what's the point of having that, okay? All right, let's go to the next one. Number 2, same type of idea, but are there more 3's in the numerator or the denominator? There's more in the denominator. So how many more in the denominator? 1. So I'm going to go 3 to the first. What do I put in the numerator? I put a 1. Why don't I put a 0? Because then it would be 0 and wipe the whole thing out, wouldn't it? Yeah, and I don't want that. So that's over 1. So my final answer is 1/3, okay? Make sure that if there's more in the denominator, it stays in the denominator. Okay. Notice that when you have a negative exponent, we flip a fraction to get a positive exponent. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, okay? So let's take a look at this. You'll notice that our numbers today end up having some negative exponents, all right? And this is how we talk about it. So 2 is upstairs in the house, okay? And he's playing, and all of a sudden, the winds start whipping, okay? And the sky turns kind of an icky greenish yellow, right? Yeah, tornado's coming. It's getting wicked, like the cats are flying through the air. No, they're not. But he's scared, right? He's got all these negative thoughts, negative exponents, right? Yeah. Right. So he's got a negative exponent in his head, and he's scared. So what happens if you're super scared and you're upstairs? You we don't get food. Okay, yeah, grab your popcorn bowl and you go downstairs. You're going to go downstairs because you feel better, right? And once you're downstairs, you can't hear the sirens. You can't see the cats flying, okay? You don't see any of that anymore. So you're happier, right? So this is how we handle this, okay? So 2 is going to go to the denominator. He's going to go to the basement. And once he's in the basement and has changed places, he has positive thoughts. So your exponent becomes positive, okay? And then what do I put in my numerator? I put a 1, that's right. Now we can go a little further, and we go 2 times 2 is? Times 2 is 8. So I get an 8 then in my denominator, and I'm done. Right? Let's move on, right? I don't really like how this fraction is written, so I'm going to rewrite it as 1/4 in parentheses to the -3. So does the -3 belong to the 1 or the 4? It belongs to both. That's right. Now, whenever you have a fraction and it's to the negative power, what we're going to do with that fraction is we're going to flip it. We're going to flip the whole thing, right? We're going to do it right away. So I'm going to end up making this 4 to the first, and I'm going to make it to the third power. So once I flip it, I'm going to change the sign of the exponent, right? And then we do like we did before. I'm going to distribute, so I get 4 to the third over 1 to the third. Do I have to have parentheses anymore with those numbers? Why not? Because they're not negative. That's right, they're not negative. So 4 to the third is 64. Good. You're starting to see some of those numbers over 1, which ends up being 64. Right? Don't skip steps with this, because there were some of you on your quiz that you're going to get back tomorrow. You skipped a ton of steps. And you end up getting the wrong answer. Okay, so really important you follow that list that we made for you earlier. All right, let's take a look at this one. This one's kind of a fun one. I got 0. 0 is a number. It's the loneliest number, right? Right? So I got 0 to the negative 2. What do I do? What do you think? Well, does he like where he's at?
Yes.
He's scared. He's got negative thoughts. He's like, tornadoes can come get me. So it's a baby, yeah, and I'm going to bring him downstairs, and I'm going to make it 0 to the second, and then what do I do up above? I'm going to put a 1 in the numerator. Now, what's 0 squared? It's 0, because 0 times 0 is still a 0, right? And what does that equal? It's 1. It's 0. It's
nothing.
Okay, how many people think 1? How many people think 0? Okay, there's a handful of you that, well, what I think is what really matters is, no, not really. Well, yeah, I'm here to, all right, what I want you to do is take your calculators. Take 1, divide it by 0, and we get error, right? You cannot divide by a 0. You cannot. So what happens is your NWEAs and your MCAs and even your ACTs, they're going to try to get you on this. They're going to try to get you on this. And a ton of you are going to like, oh, this one's easy, 1. And the other half of you are like, oh, this is really easy, it's 0. And you're all wrong, right? It's undefined. You can't do it. Can't divide by 0. Now, I'm going to tell you this. When you take this test in the next week, you will not be allowed to use a calculator. You will not. I'm going to give you very friendly numbers, like 2 cubed, 4 squared. They're going to be easier numbers that you don't need a calculator on. So you need to remember this, all right? Because on your NWAs, do you always get a calculator?
No.
You do not. So you have to know what this means and how to do this, okay? All right, let's move to the next one. I got 3 to the 0. What is 3 to the 0? It is 1, and I know you know it's 1 because you've already looked ahead, right? So this ends up being 0. And the question is why? Okay, a lot of kids get stuck with, why is that 1? That doesn't make sense. Well, let's talk about this just for a minute. If I have 3 to the 0, I can say that's like 3 squared over 3 squared. Because remember, what do we do the exponents when they're in a fraction? We subtract them, right? It could be 3 to the 5 over 3 to the 5, but they equal 0 when I subtract them, correct? Now, what's 3 squared? It's 9. So 9 over 9, if I take 9 over 9, what do I get? I get 1. That's why anything to the 0 power is going to be 1, always. Always. There's no work involved, so when you do the problem, you just put down 1 and you're done. Yeah, it is kind of cool. Let's take a look at this one. I got negative 10 in parentheses to the 0 power. What's the answer? Is it negative 1 or is it positive 1? It is positive, and why? The negative is in the parentheses. The only time it would be negative is if I had something like this. Then it would be a negative 1 because the negative's outside. What some kids like to do is this. Watch this. Can I chop chop? No. Okay? Because negative 10 to the 0 power is positive 1, and the negative comes along for the ride. You can't chop chop. Remember us doing that? Okay? Because that exponent affects that number. All right, let's move on. Remember, anything to the 0 power is 1. So the negative 10 is to the 0 power, which is 1. But remember that negative comes along for the ride, like your parent on a bumper, right? On your date, your parent's going to come. We talked about that. Yep, they're hanging on for dear life. They're going to come with. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's look at the rules that we've learned before. What do I do with my exponents when my bases are the same? I'm going to add them. So this ends up being negative 5 in parentheses to the 0. Because 4 plus negative 4 gives me 0. And what's negative 5 to the 0 power? Isn't that kind of fun? Kind of, in a weird sort of way, right? In a really weird sort of way. All right, let's move on. What do I do with these exponents? I'm going to multiply them. You don't need your calculators. Here we go. I get 5 to the 4th. Okay, now let's talk about 5 to the 4th. I get 4 5s, right? 5 times 5 is 25, and another 5 times 5 is 25. What's 25 times 25? Not 125. Huh? Not 225. 225 is 15 squared. That's close. 625. Oh. Did you do that in your head? Did it get lost? Did it? I'm kidding. That's one of those squares that might be advantageous for you to kind of memorize. And you'll, as you do more of it, it'll make more sense, okay? I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding. All right, here we go. Equals 1 over 4 to the negative 2, right? Right. Does 1 like where he's at? 1 likes where he's at. Yeah, he's not having a problem. Now, 4 is downstairs, and the lights went out. Ooh, and you know when those lights go out downstairs, the boogie monster comes out, right? And he's going to get you with his rubber banana, right? Right? So the lights go out, and of course, you know what I'm talking about. You go running up those stairs, and you're like, ah! Like, they're not going to come after you, you know, but, you know, if you run, they won't come after you, right? Yeah, it's very logical, okay? So 4 is downstairs, right? And he's having negative thoughts because the lights went out. So he's like, Mom! And he comes running upstairs. And once he's upstairs, he feels good, doesn't he? Because Mom's going to save him. Not really, but Mom's going to save him. Mom takes and pushes him down the stairs and goes, help him! No, they don't. They don't. I'm kidding. So, your mom, yeah. No. So 4 doesn't like where he's at. He's going to come upstairs and he's going to have positive thoughts. So I'm going to go 4 squared. Okay. Do I need to put anything in the denominator? I don't. It doesn't do any good. I can, but it doesn't do any good. Right. So I end up with 1 times what? 16. 1 times 16 is 16, and I'm done. All right. Yeah, that's why you need to follow the steps. What I have kids do is they'll pluck that in their calculator and go, ah, with jazz hands, like, there's your answer. Yeah. No, because you can't use your calculator. So don't get used to that. Okay. You can check it with your calculator, but that's all you can do. All right. Last one that we're going to do on this. All right. I end up with 3 squared over 3 to the negative 1. Does 3 squared like where he's at?
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves where he's at. He's upstairs. He's happy. Does 3 to the negative 1 like where he's at? No, so he's coming running upstairs. I get 3 to the 1st. Okay, now what do I do? Do I multiply my exponents? I add them because they're not kissing exponents, right? They're not next to each other. And I have no parentheses. So I end up with 3 to the third, which gives me 27. Very good. A lot of you are starting to get that now. That's good. Questions? You got to follow those rules, like I said, that we've dealt with, and then it will be better. All right, here we go. It's okay. Look at your rules and you'll be fine. Let's take a look at this. All right. Does 6 like where he's at? Yep, 6 is fine. He's fine upstairs, so I'm going to leave him. Does F like where he's at? The one in the numerator? Yes, he likes where he's at, so I'm going to go F. Does G like where he's at? No, he doesn't want to watch those storms. He wants to go down in the basement. He's chicken. So it's G to the 4th. And notice that once he goes downstairs, once he changes positions, he no longer has those negative exponent thoughts. Okay. Now let's take a look at the 2. Does 2 like where he's at? Yep. And he's going to go out front. He always likes to be that line leader. Does F to the negative 2 like where he's at? No. So he's going to go upstairs and then, that's right, we're going to get rid of the negative exponents. Now, does G like where he's at? Yes. So I'm going to leave him here. Now, that G and G to the 4th, they can flip spots. That's okay if they flip spots, but the 2 has to be up front. The F's can also switch spots. Yes, good question. All right, now, I don't have to distribute. I don't reorder. It's already reordered. I'm going to add my exponents. Okay, so I'm going to leave my 6, and I get F to the 3rd, 2 to the, and then 2, G to the 5th. Okay, now, I'm kind of done, but I missed one thing. What did I miss? I need to simplify. Yeah, what do I need to simplify? The 6 and the 2. What about them? I can divide both of them by 2. Which one's bigger, the 6 or the 2? The 6. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. It's going to go in the numerator because the 6 is bigger and it's in the numerator. If the 6 was in the denominator, then it would be in the denominator, okay? But the 6 is larger. So I'm going to leave the 3 in the numerator. It's going to be F to the 3rd, G to the 5th, and I'm done. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Now, we said that the first thing we should do is what? I want my exponents positive. Now, there's many ways of doing this. This, I think, is easier for students. Do you see the negative 2 on the outside there? So which numbers and letters does it affect? It affects all of them. So what I'm going to do is they're all scared. The whole family's scared. It's an F5 tornado. It's going downstairs. It's super scary. So I'm going to leave it like this. And they're downstairs and they're safe. What do I put in the numerator? I'm going to put a 1. Okay. Now what's the next step? Yeah, I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to distribute it. So I'm going to go 1 over 3 to the 2nd, y to the z to the 4th. Okay? Now what? 3 squared, right? What's 3 squared? 9. So it's 1 over 9 y squared z squared, and I'm done. C to the 4th, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. You're right. There, good. We okay? If you follow the steps, it's easier. It's when you start skipping stuff that it becomes a problem. All right. Here's the next one. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Let's look at the numerator first. Does the 2 like where he's at? Yes. Does W to the negative 3 like where he's at? No, I'm going to put him down below, and I'm going to put him back a little bit, and you'll see why in just a minute. Does the X in the numerator like where he's at? Yes. Okay. Now, what about the denominator? Is it okay where it is? Yeah, so I'm going to leave it right where it was. and I'm going to leave it like it was. Because I'm just dealing with those negative exponents right now. Right, so let's go to the next spot. Notice I put equal signs between all this. Got to have that math punctuation, right? All right, so I got rid of those. What's the next step? Yeah, I'm going to distribute, and you notice that I can do that in the denominator. So I'm going to leave my numerator. My denominator, I get 2 to the second, w to the second, x to the, and w to the, very good. Notice I'm doing one thing at a time. All right, now I got done with that step. What do I do next? I'm going to reorder, and that's what a lot of you forgot to do on your quiz, was reorder. So I'm going to leave this as 2x. I'm going to leave my 2 to the second out front. I'm going to go w squared, w to the third, and x to the second. So I'm going to put my stuff together. Right? Now I'm going to add my exponents. Okay, what exponents can I add? My w's. So I'm going to go 2x over 2 to the second, w to the fifth, x to the second. Okay? Now I'm going to subtract my exponents. Now, can I do anything with my 2's? Yeah, I can, because they have the same base, don't they? Okay? Do I have more 2's in the numerator or the denominator? How many more? 1. So I'm going to go 2, right? Look at my x's. Are there more in the numerator or the denominator? Denominator, how many more? 1. Look at my w. Do I keep where he's at? Yep. And then what? That's it. I leave it like that. Okay, 1's in the numerator. Good. And I'm done. Yep. That's a good question. Yeah, she's saying that, yeah, if there's a 2 to the first and 2 to the second, okay, there's 2 more down below. So if you need to put the 1 there to help you with that, do that. Your final answer should not have 2 to the 1 because it's not simplified. But that's a good question. We okay? It is confusing. There's a lot of steps, but if you follow the steps that I've been telling you, you'll be just fine, right? All right, here's your assignment for today. It's going to be on page 506, and you're going to do 3 to 43 odd. I know it seems like a lot, but it goes at a clip. And I'll do a hunk with you right now. All right. So you can open up your books then.